Hey everyone, it's your girl Sanj. Y'all, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new here for the first time. Happy New Year, all of the things, y'all. It is so good to be back. I'm so excited to talk about what we're going to talk about today with regards to setting healthy boundaries at work so you can stay sane and showing up for yourself and the other people and things in your life. And yeah, y'all, I didn't expect to be away for this long. I know it's been a couple of months since my last video, but honestly, I have just been resting, restoring, seeking, focusing on myself and my family and God and getting vision for this new year and all kinds of good stuff. So I am, definitely, when I come on here, I want to share with y'all, what's been going on, share with you out of the overflow. But I'm really just, it's important to me to be doing what I need to do in my real life, okay? Keeping everything healthy and happy and all that good stuff. So that's where I've been, that's what I've been doing. And enough about me, because y'all are here to learn how you can set healthier boundaries with work. And y'all, this is something that is actually, it's a really important topic to me, because a lot of us are working jobs. Maybe they're our dream jobs, maybe they're not. Okay, and work is, a part of life, whether you are working in a formal sense, whether you work a 9 to 5, whether you do part-time, whether you're a full-time homemaker, in some way or another, we are all working. And yeah, it is a part of life and something that I've come to see as a good and beautiful part of life, which, to be honest, I have not always, because work for me has been a bit of a, I won't say it's been struggle, but post-college I've been like, what is this? What is this? What is this? Okay, and I have been at some jobs, been in some roles, done some things where I've just found myself really overwhelmed, really stressed, not feeling like myself. And I feel like, we can all get there sometimes. So setting boundaries with work will help you personally to feel like work is not running your life, and it'll also make sure that, you're able to keep your priorities in check as you are working and making money, or if you're working at home but not making money, still just like, doing what you need to do to advance whatever it is that you're advancing, your family, your business, your vision, all that good stuff. So without further ado, we will go ahead and get right into it. And okay, the first tip that I have for maintaining healthy boundaries at work, okay, boundaries with work, is eat lunch. Y'all, eat your lunch, take your lunch, let that be your time, okay? And this is something that, if you're anything like me, it's so easy to give up your lunch. Maybe you get an email that comes through and you're like, I gotta work on this, or maybe an unexpected meeting gets put on your calendar, or maybe, say you're a hairdresser and someone's like, can I squeeze in here? And so you squeeze them in, and all of a sudden you haven't eaten all day, right? Like, your lunch, from a legal perspective, you are owed your lunch, whether you're full-time, part-time, whatever your work status, like, you're owed your lunch. But more importantly, on a personal perspective, that is your time to reset during the day, to check in with your body, to give it some fuel, right? Because it needs fuel to keep going. And so if you make a habit of consistently neglecting your lunch, or giving up your lunch, or doing a working lunch where you're still in front of your computer and you're just kind of like eating as you continue working, in the long run, it doesn't set a healthy precedent for you, and it also doesn't set a healthy precedent for how people see you at work. Because if you're someone who is constantly willing to give up that time, then people will start to expect that from you, when it's not an expectation that you owe, right? Because your lunch is that time. So take that lunch if you have 30 minutes, if you have an hour, regardless of what that looks like. Try to see if you can get outside. If you work indoors, you can sit, you can invite someone, right, out to lunch or to eat lunch together. But bottom line is, like, eat your lunch. Take that time for you. You deserve it, and oftentimes you'll need it in the middle of the day, and it's more important than, you know, trying to scramble to get something done. And the second way that you can set healthy boundaries with work is to silence your notifications at periodic times throughout the day. And this, for my office workers, this might look like something like Slack, Amazon Chime, any sort of messaging platforms you have, email as well. And if you don't work in an office, this could be like your phone. And so there's just this culture that has been created. I can't say how it's been created, but just has, where we feel like we always have to respond, we always have to be on, we always have to send a text back right away, or email back right away, or Slack back right away. But the truth is, when we're constantly kind of being pinged from different directions, not only does it interrupt your conversation, or excuse me, not your conversation, might do that too, but your concentration. But it also, you know, it can be overwhelming, especially if you're getting just inundated from every side and you're trying to do something and then you get another message, or you're trying to do somebody's hair and your phone is constantly going off. So you can do yourself a favor and just silence those. It could be for an hour, right? Like there's an hour throughout the day where you're like, this is my deep work time. I'll check it after the hour. More often than not, unless maybe, I don't know if you're in the medical field and working in a hospital or something, more often than not, a lot of the things that we're being pinged for are not emergencies. Perhaps, you know, if you're a call center manager or something like that and someone needs you immediately, it might make sense. But in most of our jobs, there's at least an hour period of time where it's okay if we respond a little bit later. And so what I like to do is check my emails and my Slack notifications in the morning, then turn my notifications off for about an hour. Then they'll come back on. I'll leave them on for another hour and then turn them off. So I give myself those intervals for deep work, and I'm able to engage with the messages and the potential new tasks that are coming in from the messages at my own pace. So if you don't already do that, highly recommend. It helps so much just to give yourself that space to focus and manage those notifications. The third way that you can set healthy boundaries with work, and y'all, I have to be honest, I struggle with this one, is to decline or challenge unnecessary meetings. And so this is a little bit more relevant to my office workers, but really it can apply to any job where if there are meetings that you're being asked or invited to and you really aren't sure why you need to be there or what value there is for you to be there, or it doesn't seem to have a direct connection to your job, it is totally okay to ask the meeting organizer, hey, like, do you have an agenda for this? Or hey, was there something specific that you wanted me to be here for? To get clarity, I had a boss who used to say, no agenda, no attenda. And I was like, lol. But since I've been put on a lot of meetings, I'm low-key like, yo, you know, that's kind of wise, because otherwise you show up to these meetings, you don't necessarily know what the purpose is. Maybe people are, you know, talking, going on in circles, and suddenly, you know, you just have spent an hour in this meeting and then you're scrambling to finish your work after hours. Meetings, unnecessary ones, some of them are necessary, but unnecessary ones can take up a lot of your time. So do yourself a favor and ask for more clarity, and some of them, if it doesn't make sense for you to be there, it is okay to decline, and that's something that I'm having to learn. It doesn't make you the best worker to say yes to everything. What you need to say yes to is your job. And so if there are things that are coming in and things that are hindering from doing your job, you're actually being a good and wise worker when you protect your time in that way. So yes, highly recommend, and I will be there learning to do that with you. The fourth way that you can set healthy boundaries with work, okay, is to avoid same-day meetings or appointments if possible. And this is something truthfully, that I also struggle with, but I'm working on it, which is, say there's a need that comes up during the day. Again, in most scenarios, there might be some, but in most scenarios, it's not going to be an emergency. So if somebody just, say you get to work at 8 and somebody throws a meeting on your calendar for 9, suddenly your whole plan for the day is kind of like thrown off, or you show up at work, you get an unexpected, hair appointment, and you're like, sometimes, secure the bag, you trying to get a little extra money if it's an appointment situation, but it can throw things off and again, take up time. So if at all possible, avoid that. You can ask people like, hey, can we reschedule for tomorrow? That way you have some time to plan and prepare for it. Also, likely if a meeting is just thrown on your calendar, like without any context, or you don't have time to prepare, it's probably not going to be the most productive meeting. So that's a totally fine boundary to set. If somebody's like, hey, can you do this? I want to talk to you about it. It's like, yep, how about we meet tomorrow morning? So again, so that you can stay as close as you can to your original plan for the day, and any new things that come, and it's like, cool, we can talk about that tomorrow. This is one that has made a big difference for me, and the easiest way to do it is I've just been responding to the calendar invitation. My job uses Google Calendar, and saying, hey, can we reschedule this for tomorrow? And I haven't had any instance where someone's been like, no, we absolutely need to do it today or now. So do that. The fifth way that you can set some healthy boundaries with work is to do your own job. And this may seem, basic. It kind of is, but sometimes, we can find ourselves in situations where we're doing things that aren't a part of our job, or we're doing things to try to cover other people, and we end up taking on more than we necessarily need to, or have to, or should, and we're overwhelmed and we're stressed. And part of it is because we're outside of our job description. And there are instances, moments, maybe you're covering for somebody, you're covering, for somebody during time off or maternity leave. There are definitely times where you may be doing some things that are a little outside of your job description. But if you're consistently doing that, one, you either need to be paid and accommodated for that extra responsibility, or if it's important to know that you don't owe that to anybody, you don't owe that to the company. And sometimes when you do that, it takes away from your ability to do your own job. So do your job. And you may seem sometimes I felt kind of bad about this. If somebody asked me to do something that's actually somebody else's job, redirecting that and being like, hey, thanks for asking this. That's actually so-and-so who's your point person for that. Let me know if you have any questions. Or, hey, this is for so-and-so. I'll shoot that note over to her, or pass your message along. But it makes a big difference. It makes a big difference. You're not being mean. You're not being a team player. Your company has hired you to do your job. Or if you're an entrepreneur, like, you've chosen yourself to do your job. So do that job, do it well to the best of your ability, and don't do things that are going to make it challenging for you to do your job to the best of your ability. And lastly, this is perhaps one of my favorite tips here. When it comes for setting healthy boundaries with work, maintain some mystery. And y'all, I feel like with all of these, I've been like, oh, this is hard for me. It is, but I have been learning to do it. It's hard for me because I naturally, I'm the person who'll be like, hey, I'm going to the bathroom, or hey, I'm doing this. I have had to work on learning how to not overshare, but my natural tendency, I don't have shame in sharing different things. But the challenge with that is folks, especially at work, they don't need to know your business. They don't need to know. They don't really need to know. When you go into the bathroom, they don't need to know, where you're going at lunch. They don't need to know exactly what you're doing every hour. I mean, maybe you have to track your time or something like that where it makes sense. But even then, there's some things and details that are for you. And so this is something that it helps a lot to know that you don't owe people. It could be personal information. For me, what this has looked like in a lot of cases is information about what I'm doing at specific times. We're all adults. If you gotta go to the bathroom, just go to the bathroom, right? Like, you don't have to announce it. And so as you maintain that mystery, it kind of challenges the idea that you might hold that like you owe your job all this information, or you owe your coworkers all this information. You don't. What you owe them is to show up as your best self, as best as you can, right? Some days you may be struggling with that, but doing your best every day and doing your job. That's what you're there for. And also, you know, adding in there to shine bright, to be a bright light, you know, myself as a Christian, that's something that's important to me to do at work. Yeah, but other than that, like, you don't have to share too much if you're not comfortable, and it is totally fine to maintain some mystery. That could be about your goals, right? That could be about your aspirations. That could be about, you know, your side hustle and kind of what your longer term career aspirations are. Whatever they are, that is a really healthy mental boundary to set, so that you remember that you are more than your job. You are an individual apart from your job, whatever that job is. And it's okay to keep some things for yourself. And with that, y'all, we have come to the end of this video. I hope this was helpful for you. I would love to hear about your experiences too, so feel free to drop some comments. Let me know how you set boundaries at work, if you struggle with it, if you found something that works really well. Let's have work for us and be a blessing and a source of provision and all that, but let's not have it take everything we have or milk us for all we're worth, because we over here, you know, vibrant women and whatnot, we got a lot of things to do. Okay, we got a lot of things to do. So go ahead and hit that young subscribe button if you have not already, and otherwise I will see you next time.